Okay, I will continue where we left just now regarding the motivations. The the focus on the organizational factor. After quality of life, we continue with Herzberg's two-factor theory. Okay, Herzberg's two-factor theory distinguish motivation in two types of motivations or motivator and hygiene factor. So according to Herzberg's two-factor theory, there are two types of factor that could contribute to the performance or that actually motivates employee. First one is motivator, the other one is hygiene. So first one is motivator relates more to the unique human characteristics important for humans' psychological growth. And the other factor is hygiene, is actually stemmed from animal nature, which is built in ourselves, the drive to avoid pain, and more related to the basic biological needs. So why two-factor theory relate to motivations? Herzberg come with the two-factor. What is meant by two-factor? The first factor is motivations or motivator. The other factor is hygiene. So hygiene relate more to the human nature, while motivator or motivational relate more to the unique characteristics of human being. So hygienes are important for employees to the existence of hygiene would lead to high satisfactions, and the absence of hygiene would lead to dissatisfactions. And the existence of a hygiene, even though it lead to high satisfaction, it will not lead to performance, because only motivator, the satisfaction with the motivator could lead to performance. So hygienes, even though it's related to work and fulfill the hygiene could lead to satisfactions, and the absence of hygiene could lead to dissatisfactions. However, the existence or the presence of satisfactions in hygiene would not lead to performance. The other factor, the second factor of two-factor theory, which is motivator, the existence or the presence of satisfaction with the motivator could lead to the increased level of performance instead of the existence of satisfaction in hygiene. So basically, when we talk about Herzberg's two-factor theory, it is the factor of motivator that could lead to high performance. So for the employees in the organization, for the manager needs to focus on motivating the motivator so that the performance of the employees could be enhanced. So based on the textbook come up with this kind of diagrams. So this is related to motivator, this is related to the hygiene. So the example of motivator such as challenging job, personal growth opportunity, recognitions, feeling of achievement. The example of hygienes, company policy, administrations, quality of supervision, salary status, and so on. So the hygienes, the components of hygienes are very important for the satisfaction of the employees, and the absence of this factor in hygiene could lead to the dissatisfactions. However, the presence or the existence of hygiene factor, company policy, salary status, administrations, even though employees satisfied with this or this, but still this cannot lead to performance according to Herzberg. Instead, Herzberg said that the factor and the motivator, the existence, presence of this could lead to high performance, could lead to high satisfaction, which lead to high performance. And the absence of this would lead to low performance, low satisfactions. So see the importance of motivator in Herzberg's two-factor theory. So another things that under organizational factor, motivation that focus on organizational factor is job design. So job design can have an impact on satisfactions of employees. Dissatisfaction derived from the job itself. So there are four elements under job design. First one is job rotation, second one is job enlargement, third one is job enrichment, and fourth one is self-managing teams. So we start with the first one, job rotations. What is meant by rotations? Job rotations. So job rotation is basically where employees are rotated in the organization. For example, maybe the first time they work, they were put in HR departments. After 6 months, they may be put under finance, and after 6 months, they will put under advertising department. After 6 months, so the employees are rotated to work in different departments in the organization. So basically, job rotations allow employees to work on different jobs in the organizations. So the advantage of job rotations, for lower level job, employees can get more experience and skill because they been rotated to work in this job, in this department. So they learn, they gain experience from different jobs, different departments. So that's good for them because this provide the opportunity for them to be promoted, to be promoted in their job so that they can get higher salary, higher satisfaction, and so on. The another advantage of job rotation is because you've been rotated in different job, different environment, so you will not feel bored. So certain people, they do not like to do routine jobs. They do not like to be given just a simple job. So if they've been rotated around the jobs and around the organizations, they will feel more excited. They will not feel bored. And job rotation also can increase employees' feeling in terms of being valued because they think they have been chosen to be rotated. So there must be some good in themselves that could contribute to this department or this job that they been rotated in different departments or different jobs. So they feel that they be appreciated, they feel valued. So this could increase the moral, the satisfactions, and good for the company, good for the employees itself. For example, a policeman who is rotated between jobs and also different departments. For example, I stated here job rotations. For example, here doctor, maybe a doctor, sometimes they are rotated to work in pediatricians, geriatrics, and maternity. So they work around the company in different jobs. So another job designs factor is job enlargement. Job enlargement is adding similar tasks, level in terms of level of difficulties, in terms of a level of responsibility to the task. Example, bank teller who the banker who work in the bank been given more responsibility, add more tasks to their jobs. So when we talk about job enlargement, we talk about level of difficulties and level of responsibility. So adding more level of difficulty to the task, level more responsibility to the task. And job enrichments, what is meant by job enriched? So the job itself is being enriched. That means that employees are being given tasks that are more complex, that carry greater responsibility and authority. So if we compare job enrichment with the job enlargement, adding similar tasks with different level of difficulties and responsibility, while job enrichment is giving tasks which are more complex and carry greater responsibility and authority. So in comparisons, both job enrichment is given more complex tasks with greater responsibility than job enlargement. So I consider job enrichment is more difficult compared to job enlargements. The tasks being given are more difficult, more complex, but But this is actually important for the employees. Maybe if the employees could satisfy or could fulfill all the requirements, easier for them to be promoted. So I put in this, so this is a summary of job enrichment. The task is being given a more complex and greater responsibility and authority. So this is basically the job enrichment example. For example, this lady currently being given just a few tasks, and when under job enlargement, they just been given more task responsibility, and enrichments the task not only more responsibility but also higher level of responsibility and more complex and so on. Another job design, another factor under job design is self-managing team. Basically, self-managing team is a semi-autonomous work group or we call it also self-managing team or self-autonomous work group. Both are the same. When we talk about self-managing teams, we talk about the team that manage themselves, sometimes with a small or minor involvement of supervisor. But normally they work without the supervisor or without someone to supervise them, or just a minor supervisions or involvement interference with the supervisions. So groups of the employees are being given assigned tasks. So under self-managing team, basically it's a group of employees where they've been given a task to do. These tasks they've been given autonomy, freedom, empowerment in terms of resources, in terms of authority to accomplish the task on their own without the manager. So maybe there are some small or minimum management involvement, but they themselves responsible for the task that being given. So that's why we call semi-autonomous. Maybe semi-autonomous is not entirely free from the supervisions from managements, just a semi or semi, or self-managing teams where the employees themselves manage the teams or the departments without the involvement of the management's interference involvement. So next we are moving to motivations theory that focusing more on the employee factor. So here focusing this motivations theory focusing on personal attributes, which is especially the needs. So employees, according to this theory, employees need must be satisfied to achieve optimum work motivation. So on the employees, every one of us, whether employees or not employees, we have certain needs. Especially for employees, if they come to work with the needs, it is important to fulfill these needs so that the needs, when they fulfill, the employees can focus more on achieving optimum work or performance. So focusing on employees factor, there's a personal attributes which is need to be fulfilled. A need is an internal, physical, or psychological drive. So when we talk about the need, we talk about the drive. We talk about something, forces inside that push people to fulfill that needs. So this need create a state of tension because they have the needs that need to be fulfilled. If these needs are not fulfilled, there will be a tensions. So these tensions actually if it is not fulfilled, the employees or the person will just focusing on the needs instead of what they need to achieve. So it is important to fulfill the employee needs so that their behavior, their could be encouraged to achieve the performance. So it is important this state of tensions that been created by this need to be fulfilled. So internal physical. So I simplify the discussions whatever you read in the text. Uh, Based on this theory, human being or employees have internal needs, either physically or psychologically. They have needs or they have drive that needs to be fulfilled. If it is not fulfilled, this need create attentions. If it is not fulfilled, so this need the psychological physical drive or needs that's inside us that we have will create a state of tensions, and we need to so if it is not fulfilled, it will create tensions. So it is important to ease these tensions. So Abraham Maslow come with a needs hierarchy. Maslow proposed that needs are hierarchical in nature. Hierarchical mean is in like a, in there is a stages, stage one, stage two, and so that they are ranked in order. So need at the bottom must be satisfied before higher up needs can be fulfilled. So Maslow mentions that factor beyond the basic survival needs can drive human behavior. So so Maslow come with the 5 different level of needs. The first 3 level are considered lower order needs. This need is the same as the need of the animal. So these 3 needs are at the lowest level of the hierarchy. It start with the physiological needs. That means this need is very important to stay alive, such as need for food, water, shelter, procreate, and so on. So these needs are important for human being to stay alive according to Maslow. So this need must be fulfilled first before the second need can be achieved. So second need is safety. So after you have food, after you have water, house, and so on, then you are looking for your safety. First, you're willing to risk your life in order to get food. So after you get food, water, shelter, now you are looking for ways to protect your family. For example, that's what is said by security. So it's related to the physical safety, such as you willing to jumping out of way of car. Just sometimes you see your baby you see your children's about to hit by the car. You willing to risk your life just to save your children. That's how important security needs for yourself. And after you fulfill the security needs, you need to fulfill the social need. What is meant by social need? Need for a relationship, need to have to interact, need to be with others. That's what is meant by social need. So after you have water, enough food, and then you could protect yourself, you also need friends, because we are social being, we cannot live alone. So after we have food, physiological needs, and after we are safe and healthy, we need to have friends. These 3 needs are actually the same as the animal. Animal also need to have all these. There's no difference between a human and animal according to Maslow. What is different between human and animal is these 2 needs, the higher order needs. Why it is called higher order needs? Because these 2 needs are at the top of the hierarchy. So when we see the shape pyramids, this ego and self-actualizations are the top level, and these 3, social, safety, and physiological needs are at the bottom. So that's why it's called lower order needs. These 2 are higher order needs because they are situated or located at the top level of hierarchy or top level of pyramids. So higher order needs is unique for human being, because animal do not have this kind. Even though animal also have some ego, but they do not have that kind of ego. For example, praise, recognition, social status. Animal do not care about social status, whether you are rich or poor. Animal do not understand those kind of things. So that's why it says unique to human, because our brains. We have highly developed brains. That's specific to these ego needs and self-actualization needs. So according to Maslow, after we fulfill all the three level needs, we need to have we need to fulfill the ego needs. So ego needs, what is meant, we needs for praise and recognitions, social status. So social status mean we want to be famous, we want to be rich, we want to be acceptable by society. So ego need can be met through praise. If someone praise you, fulfill your ego. For example, sometimes they encourage, they praise you to do something. So you have, even though you do not want to do it, but because of being praised, because of being, being encouraged, so you will try to fulfill their needs. So actually, ego needs belong to human being, but it's depend on the individual. Some individual have more higher needs, some has low, some has more higher need for ego, some has low higher need for ego. So according to Maslow, after you fulfill all the lower needs and ego needs, then you need to fulfill the self-actualization need. So this is the highest needs. This self-actualization, what is meant here is the desire to achieve one full potential. What is meant by one full potential is actually to achieve the, everyone has been created with potentialities. So uh, in order to achieve the highest potential that being created as a human being, need to fulfill all the lower needs. So self-actualization can be achieved where we can achieve what we want to achieve. That means we the fullest potential that been created can be achieved if we fulfill all the lower level needs. This is very common Maslow hierarchy of needs, so it's not really difficult to understand the logic, even though there are some research try to validate, couldn't validate, but basically that's the theory. So there's also another theory, Alderfer ERG theory. Come mention that people have three set of needs. Why Alderfer ERG theory? Where is ERG theory come from? Where is ERG come from? So according to Alderfer, ERG theory come from existent. E stand for E, existent. R stand for R, relatedness. G stand for G, growth. So according to Alderfer, people have three set of need. Existent, that's all material and physical desire which are acquired to live, to survive. So basically, existent need is we need to exist. We need something material and physical need to survive. So second one is relatedness. We need to have relationship where feeling and thought are shared. So relatedness is basically the needs to have friend, to have interactions with friend, to have feelings and thought, to share feeling and thoughts with others. And growth, we need to be productive, we need to change ourselves, we need to change the environment. So satisfied with this need can lead to development of human abilities. So these actually three needs correspond with Maslow. As you can see, these existent needs where human need all materials, physical, to survive. So existent needs is actually similar to physiological needs, and relatedness needs which is the need to have a relationship where feelings and thoughts are shared, is consistent or correspond to the social need of Maslow. While growth need to be productive to change the self, the environment, so that human can develop his abilities, his capabilities. So this represent the self-actualization needs. So actually, ERG needs is more of simplified versions of Maslow motivational theory. So I draw this line, as you can see, basically is the general conceptualization of Maslow. As you can see, existence is a lower needs, relatedness related to the relationship, social needs, and growth related to self-actualization needs of Maslow. So Alderfer ERG theory basically is the simple versions of Maslow theoretical hierarchical needs. Okay, another need is by McClelland need theory. McClelland come with the motivational needs. According to him, motivational needs are learned throughout people's life from those influential. So according to McClelland, needs actually learned from throughout people's life, especially from those influential, from those that are respected. McClelland said that human work to fulfill three basic needs. So McClelland also come with the needs theory. There are three theory of needs according to the McClelland's theory. First one is need for affiliations. So need for affiliations actually needs to be people clearly like interacting and some like more than others. Why is meant here needs to have a friendship, need to interact with others. So need for affiliation is the same as Alderfer related need for relatedness and Maslow needs of social needs. So McClelland need for affiliation is need to interact with others, need to have relationship with others. Need for achievement is characterized by desire to achieve goal as effectively as possible. So need for achievement, some people they are more motivated by achievement. So they are not really looking for to have a friendships or relationship with others, but they are looking for things that could make them becoming more to achieve more in life, to achieve goal as effective as possible. So need for achievement normally can be found among CEO, among leaders, among managers, because they have high need for achievement, high need to achieve the goals effectively. So need for achievement correspond to a need for growth ERG theory and also Maslow's self-actualization based on Maslow hierarchy of need. So even though they are coming from different kind of theory, but this theory basically consistent with each other. Need for power is actually the desire to control and influence others. So McClelland come with these needs. Everyone may have higher needs, maybe in affiliations, maybe in achievements, maybe in power. So in power, normally high among leaders, among politicians, because they have high desire to control and influence others, more than the needs for achievement and need for affiliations. So need for power actually do not correspond with LRG, Alderfer, and Maslow hierarchy of need. So McClelland come with these three theory of needs. Only need for affiliations and need for achievement correspond with ERG and Maslow, but need for power is not related to the other two. So need for power is actually need for to control and to influence others. So there's another theory, this motivational theory, focusing more on change in behavior or facilitating change in behavior. So this theory focusing more on how to enhance motivation in general, So they come up. So there are two types of theories: goal setting theories and behavior modification theories. So this is these two theories is how to enhance performance in relation to specific behavior. So goal, when we talk about goal setting theory, goal is mutually acceptable to manager. According to goal setting theory, in order to be effective, the goal must be mutually acceptable to the manager and employees. If they set the goal is only acceptable to the managers but not to the employees, so the goal is very difficult to be achieved because they are not mutually acceptable. So in the organizations, if the goal is only acceptable by manager but not by the employees, the employee will not be motivated to fulfill this goal, to achieve this goal. So at the end of the day, this goal will not be successfully achieved. So that's why it is important to set a goal that are mutually acceptable by both managers and employees. So in order to set the goal that are mutually acceptable by the manager and employees, the goal need to be set through consultation so that both are agreed with the goal that need to be achieved. This is because this is based on the ego investment, where if employees feel they are involved in setting the goal, then they become responsible to achieve the goal. If the goal is set but not by through consultations, but they didn't accept it, it's very difficult for the organization to achieve the goal because the employees are feeling not responsible to achieve the goal because they may say that the goal is set without their agreement. So it is important in order for the goal to be successfully achieved to involve both employees and manager in the goal setting consultation. So if both employees and managers are setting the goal together through consultations and both employees and manager accept the goal as their goals, so it's become our goal instead of management goal. So it is important to have to set a goal that's agreed by both managers and employees so that the goal will become our goal. That's mean both employees and managers we try to achieve this goal as opposed to just one side of the goal. For example, if the manager set for the goal for the employees will say that's their manager goals, not their goal. So if they perceive that what the manager goal are not their goal, then the employees will not put effort to achieve this goal. So in setting the goal, there are principles needs to be involved to set effective goal. There are concepts known as SMART. So when the organizations or anyone who set the goal, they need to consider this kind of factor. For example, the goals must be specific. So when setting the goal that need to be set must be specific. Do not set a general goal. So goal need to be restricted to particular result. For example, you need to get grade A or grade C. Of course, you need to set particular result. For example, grade A or to achieve 90% of the assignment marks, for example. So you need to be specific. It need to be measurable, cannot be unmeasurable. So if it is unmeasurable, people will not motivate to fulfill the goal. It need to be achievable. What is meant by achievable? The goal need not to be too difficult. If it is too difficult, it's become the employees or the manager will will easily give up because they know it's beyond their capacity. So the goal that we set must be achievable. That's mean not too difficult and that's not too easy. If it is too easy, they will not motivated to put effort also because it's too easy. They do not have to do anything. The goal already achieved. So it must be balanced. The goal need to be achievable. That's mean not too difficult, not too easy. and it is realistic. So the goal also need to be realistic. That means within the abilities of the employees. If it is beyond the abilities, for example, it may not motivate employees because they think it is impossible to achieve. So when we think that it is impossible, we just block our mind, we just block our motivation to try harder, to put effort. That's why it is need to have goals that are realistic. When we set goal, or when the manager set goal, they need to have time frame. It cannot just goal to achieve A when. So they need to have time frame specific. When is the deadline? So time frame here mean is the expired date, when you need to achieve when. So the time frame must be mentioned specific. If it is say I want to start diet next month. So if you say next month, it is not sure when. So time frames must have deadline. If not, you will not put effort. You will keep postponing, and you have that kind of behavior that try to postpone things, try to give excuses just to find reason not to do it. So basically, goal setting must fulfill this SMART factor in order to be achieved or to be considered effective. So I summarize here, goal setting theory considers specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time frame. So short form is SMART. So this another theory that relates to facilitating change in behavior is called behavior modification. This behavior modification is actually based on the law of effects by Skinner. According to Skinner, behavior that follow by positive outcome will be repeated. Behavior that follow by negative outcome will not be repeated. Basically, behavior that followed by positive outcome, of course, you will repeat. Behavior that's followed by negative outcome will not be repeated. So this theory focusing more on the environment instead of the internal, but the behavior of the people will depend on the external. If the external provide positive outcome, the behavior will be repeated. If the external provide negative outcome, the behavior will not be repeated. For example, if a singer and they sang and then people like it, people give a clap of hands and people like it, positive outcome, this person will try to sing again because he received positive reinforcement or positive encouragement by outside, by external, by the environment. However, if the behavior is receive negative outcome, negative reinforcement by the public, this behavior will not be repeated. So what is meant by behavior modification is the behavior will be repeated if it is receive a positive outcome from the environment. If the behavior will not be repeated if it receive negative outcome by the outside, by the environment. So that's what is meant by behavior modification. So another theory is related to motivation theory that focus on people belief. So belief implies that employees are rational, thinking beings. So basically, when we talk about people belief, we talk about belief in employees because they are rational being, they are thinking being. So they could decide rationally they could decide they could decide. They are rational thinking, they are rational being, so they could they can decide whether to how much to put effort or how much work to do to achieve expected or desired result. It's based on their belief. If they believe that it is what they expect, they will continue doing or putting more effort. If it is not what they expected, they maybe will give up. So this theory focusing more on people belief as a rational being, as a thinking being. So basically, when we talk about this theory, we talk about employees as a rational being, as a thinking being, who can make decisions on how much whether they want to put effort or not to put effort. So theory based on employee belief is known as one is expectancy theory. By Bloom, according to this theory, people are rational beings who analyze the cause and benefit of possible behavior. Because we are rational, we tend to evaluate whether our behavior is have actually the benefit and the cost of our behavior. If the cost is more than the benefit, normally we will not tend to do it. If the benefit is more than the cost, we tend to proceed with the decisions to do. So expectancy behavior, they are focusing on cost and benefits of doing the behavior If the cost is more, then they will not do it. If the benefit is more than the cost, they are more motivated by to do it. So there are three elements of expectancy theory: balance, instrumentality, and expectancy. Valence of expectancy theory based on degree of satisfaction employee anticipates will receive from particular outcome. So valence is basically how satisfied the employees with the outcome that they anticipate. Instrumentality, believe out the actions, their action whether it will lead to the desired outcome or not. That instrumentality. Expectancy theory is probability that the outcome will be achieved. So when we talk about expectancy theory, we have expectancy, we have instrumentality, and we have balance. So expectancy, instrumentality, and we have balance. These three factors will determine whether we will motivated or not. So if we expect that effort will lead to performance, performance will lead to rewards, then we will put more effort. So here, will my effort lead to high performance? If we believe our effort will lead to performance, we have high expectancy in the effort, then we fulfill the expectancy part. Performance is instrumentality. If we expect that performance lead to outcome, then we tend to have high expectancy to motivation. And if we believe this performance will lead to rewards, and these rewards consider desirable, sometimes if the organization provide reward that are not desirable for us, we will not put effort. So the reward, what is meant by balance here, whether the rewards are actually desirable or not. If the reward is desirable, we tend to put efforts. If the balance, the reward is not desirable, then we not like to put effort because the outcome, actually the reward for the performance is not actually what we want. So another theory is equity theory. Equity theory states that employees tend to compare themselves to others. So equity theory is kind of a justice theory where we tend to compare ourselves with the others. We believe that they should receive the same reward as those doing the same job under the same circumstances. So basically, this theory states that employees compare themselves with the others who doing the same job, whether they receive the same reward or not under the same conditions. For example, if employees working the same job, the same situation, but different company, whether they receive the same reward or not. If let's say they have the same job, the same situations, basically everything same but different company, if they receive the same reward, they will think that it is equity or it is fair. If, for example, these employees work for the same job, the same situation, but this one receive less reward, these employees will think that it is not fair. So they try to compare with other employees doing the same job. That's what is meant by equity theory. So employee make external comparison also. They compare their efforts, performance, reward ratio with others doing comparable work. So they try to compare based with others. They tend to compare based on effort, performance, and reward. Whether the efforts put are the same, the performance are the same, and reward are the same with the employees, with the other employees. So, equity theory employee try to make external comparison in terms of effort, performance, and reward. If employee receive the same reward as others, they think that it is fair. So it is based on the equity theory where they try to compare their performance, their effort with the reward. If other employees also have the same effort, the same performance, and the same reward, they consider it is fair. So the comparison can be made on two levels, where the employees compare with specific person, for example, with a colleague from the same department, or compare with the reference groups, for example, departments, different departments with similar departments, comparing their department with similar department in the organization. Or they compare with their general occupation classifications with other organization. So basically, employee will compare in terms of effort, in terms of performance and reward with the external. That means with the in terms of same with in terms of themselves, the same department with the colleague from the same departments. They also compare their departments with the other employees in other departments, or they compare their company with the other company, whether if they put the efforts, the performance, and the reward also the same. They will compare. If they found all are the same, they said it is fair. So that's fall under equity theory. If let's say they found out that it is not fair, when it is not fair, if they say that they receive less salary compared to others, the effective way they will go and try to improve their performance, try to go and explain to the managers why they receive less and ask the manager to explain why they receive less. So sometimes the employees, when they know they receive less salary than their friends from the same department, they try to hold effort. They will try to make a less effort so that it will comparable with the salary that they receive. So if they receive more salary than their colleague or the other departments or the other company, they will feel more satisfied with their jobs. Even though they know it is not fair, but they will more satisfied with the job. So basically, equity theory employees try to compare in terms of effort, in terms of performance, and in terms of reward, whether the receipt is similar or not. If it is similar, they say it is fair. This based on the equity theory. There's also another theory, self-efficacy theory. This theory, self-efficacy, is belief about how important they are in their abilities, how confident they are in their abilities to perform the job. So, person with high level of self-efficacy believe that they have the necessary abilities. So, those who have this kind of those who have high self-efficacy based on self-efficacy theory believe that they have the abilities, they have resourceful enough, they have the energy, they are confident in their abilities, that they could perform work, they could overcome obstacles. This is actually very good attitudes, because even though they do not know, because they have high self-efficacy, they will try to find ways, because they believe they can do it. They will find ways to overcome any obstacles in the environments that hinder their abilities. So it is very important for good employees. Normally, good employees will have this high self-efficacy. So basically, self-efficacy theory indicate that individual estimate his or her abilities in performing specific tasks, whether they have the necessary abilities, whether they are resourceful enough, or whether they can overcome obstacles. So all these three factors can increase their confidence in themselves. Okay, cognitive evaluation theory is basically it is not the objective characteristic of event that determines its motivation. Instead, it is psychological meaning and individual attached to the event. So it's focusing more on the psychological meaning that's individual attached to the event, not to the other thing. So it is actually based on whether the event or anything that have a meaning to the employees. If it is have a psychological meaning, then the employee will motivate to perform the behavior. So cognitive evaluations theory focusing more on factor that's under the control of the individual. If it is within the control of individual, actually it could enhance motivation. But if it is outside the control of the employees, then it would not enhance motivation. So I summarize into this one slide. For example, this cognitive evaluation theory is based on the psychological meaning that the employees puts on the external event. If it is out of the individual control, then this undermine intrinsic motivation. That means an employee will not motivate to perform any activities or not motivated to perform the behavior. If it is under individual control, then it could enhance the motivation. Another theory is referring to motivation-centered theory. Motivation-centered theories is depend on these theories focusing on how managers perceive and interact with the employees. So it depends on how the manager. So this theory focusing more on the manager. If the manager are friendly, it will influence it. If the manager are friendly and empathy, it will increase influence to increase more motivation and employees. If the manager is very bossy or is very rude, it actually will undermine, will not enhance the motivations of employees. So motivation-centered theory is focusing more on manager interaction with the employees. If the interaction is like this, employees will not be motivated. If the interactions between employees and manager is like two ways, participative, so it will increase employee motivation. So McGregor theory, theory X and Y come with these kind of motivations. According to him, theory X, manager believe that employees are lazy, cannot be trusted, avoid work, need to be closely supervised, need to be forced. So this from the perspective of the manager, and this also from the perspective of the manager, but they are different. This theory, while manager believe that employees are ambitious, enjoy work, are more responsibility, and employee can be trusted to work independently. So if manager have this kind of theory, why in themselves where they believe in the employees, so employees will be more motivated to work under the manager who have this kind of theory Y in that compared to the manager who believe in theory X. Okay, another thing that's more practical when we talk about motivation theory is one key factor that influence level of motivation of employees is called psychological contract. So psychological contract is an unwritten agreement between individual and organization where specifying what the two parties expected. So basically, psychological contracts is an unwritten agreement between employees and the managers or employees and the organizations where what about what two parties, I mean individual and organization, expect from each other. So their relationship based on the expectancy theory where the relationship is based on the give and take kind of interactions with other. So satisfactions, so I draw the diagrams or the slide like this so that you will ease your understanding. So as psychological contracts is based on the exchange theory on the give and take relationship between organization and employees. So this unwritten contract that means is based on the expectation based on the expectation and give and take relationship. Expectation, for example, employee expect good working condition from the organization. Organization expect competency and work performance from the employees. So if expectation of both is matched or satisfied, then consider psychological contract is fulfilled. So the psychological contract is an unwritten contract where there is no black and white. This is not written on the paper but based on the expectations, what the employee expect from the organizations and what the organization expect from the employees. So if employees fulfill the expectation of the organization, this organization fulfill the expectation of the employees, both expectations are met or are met. So both are satisfied, both parties are satisfied, so the psychological contracts are fulfilled. Okay. Okay, we stop at this.